Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Thoughts from the Field. I'm Jim Rogers. Thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to a technology company that has gone a little different direction. Instead of starting in commercial and trying to shoehorn that back in to fit into residential, we're going to talk to Paul Cardis from On3, who has really looked at the residential construction industry and said, "Hey, we have what On3 calls this field knowledge management system that we think can really help solve some of the issues that we have with residential construction today." And so I want to welcome Paul Cardis, who is the co-founder and CEO of On3. Welcome, Paul.
Great to be here, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, so Paul and I have actually been working together for what's it been, a couple years now?
It has. It has. It's been great.
We've been so On3's got lots of training modules that have been developed already, and I'm gonna let Paul go through that in just a minute. But I've had the opportunity to work with On3 and their production crews developing the residential construction safety series, which has been a blast, and it's been a little different than some of the other safety training that you see out there because it's almost all developed out in the field. So when we talk about like hazard recognition, I'm able to walk around and point to things and talk about, this is what we're seeing and this is what we should do to correct it. And it's been really interesting stuff to develop. And that's available. That's live now, right, Paul?
It is. And I remember when we met, it was, like you said, a couple of years ago, I reached out to you. I saw you on LinkedIn and reached out and said, hey, can we do some safety together? And here we are a couple of years later with a beautiful program now under our belt. And now we're moving it on to various builders across the country.
Nice, nice. Well, when I look at On3 and the way that it's produced and developed and the way that it delivers content, it's to me it's very different than just a simple learning management system or hey, buy this training course that you can watch. It has some very different elements. So I'm going to put some slides up here, Paul. You want to kind of talk us through On3 and what you've got right now and how it's being used and maybe who's using it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. On3 really was built, we're only 4 years old, but I have over 33 years in the home building space. And my goal was to really address the frontline field knowledge. That was an area that just appeared to me that there was nothing going on there in terms of digitization. So this is an area that we focused on, and we did it because there's really a complexity of construction that is like unmatched, right? Think of a product out there in the world that's more complex that we build today, and I can't think of many. And 60,000 points of failure in building a single house. We have localized building codes that are in the thousands because each local area has their tweak on that code. And then you've got over 7 million products that we can choose from to put in these houses. So, I mean, just think about the iterations here. And that's why really, when we communicate with our trades, when we deliver scopes of work, mistakes happen. In fact, the data shows that about 3% of project cost is basically lost in rework, 3%. So, doing the math on the residential side, for every 1,000 homes built, we got about $21 million that's just lost in rework, that people going back and forth. Hey, you got to come back. You got to fix this. And that's obviously a big problem in our industry.
Yeah, that's just amazing stuff. And for I mean, that's certainly not hard for me to believe, having spent time in the industry, and I'm sure anybody in the industry probably is nodding their head, going, "Yeah, that's probably right. We probably go back that often."
Yeah, so we're here to try and get that 3% back. We're going to get some or all of
Nice.
it. And so if you go to the next slide, really we thought about, how can we use the mobile device to digitize this process to enable us to what we call capture processes, create learning, and really transform the teams out there in the field. And that's exactly what we built. We've done that, and we've quickly now risen to being one of the leading technology platforms, and more importantly, the leading learning platform for construction today. And so, if you look at our client growth, it's been amazing. We work with the number one builder in America, D.R. Horton, number three builder in America, Pulte, and a number of other great home builders that are using On3 today to essentially control this whole issue of how do we communicate the how-tos in the business, right? Because that's critical. And a scope of work, I know a lot of people have them. They're probably a written document in Word, but unfortunately, nobody reads them, certainly not on a day-to-day basis. And this is where On3 comes in. So when things go wrong, a project superintendent and manager can now pull up these scopes right in their phones in video and be able to show them. And it's really amazing. So if you go to the next slide, we'll kind of talk about what makes this different. This mobile platform was designed really for construction from construction. And the first thing we noted was that it had to work offline, online. And that's kind of an odd thing, but when you think about it, how many construction sites have good internet? It varies quite a bit. And our research showed that, especially on the residential side, where they're taking down land that usually is away from the towers, away from town, there is a big internet problem out there, and that they don't have cellular, or it's one, two bars and it's flaking in and out. So any solution that you provide in this industry had to work really without that. And so we have the offline capability, offline mode, if you will. So you download the app, you can download your libraries. It all sits on your mobile device. We compress it so it doesn't smush your phone. So we can put hundreds of scopes of work for less than a gigabyte of storage on everybody's phone. So there's no more excuses, right? Everybody has what they need, and they'll not only they'll have it in video. So think of it as sort of like YouTube meets construction, but it's all vetted stuff. These modules are vetted by the companies and created by the companies. And so superintendents can go out there in the field and just record a video, and that video can then, once approved, get sent on to On3, and then we ingest that and we use AI to build out all the necessary assets to inform the field. And those then also get translated into multiple languages. So imagine you have your video-based scopes of work. They're in English, they're in Spanish. If you need them in Korean or Russian or Portuguese, you got it. And so that's a big deal.
Yeah, that really is a big deal. I want to talk about that for a minute because one of the things we deal with in the United States is OSHA, who says, hey, you have to do the training in the language that is going to be understood by the person that you're trying to teach, and that's always been a problem, right? I mean, how do you find a trainer that speaks this language and that language? This takes care of that, which I think is super interesting.
It
That's a pretty
is.
interesting development.
It is. Thank you. And it isn't as easy as you think. Initially we tried a lot of these AI models to make it work, but knowing construction Spanish, knowing construction Russian, there's a big difference there in terms of what you're going to get from these automated models. So what we use AI, we've also customized it so that it's construction smart, and we're able to translate things accurately and reference the proper language.
Well, and I want to, and maybe you'll come back to this, but I want to just kind of highlight for a minute. I talked about, hey, we developed these safety, modules, and Clay's got a bunch of other modules that you've developed in there, and then you just mentioned, the company creates their own content as well,
Right.
which is something that again, I think makes this a little bit unique in that everybody's kind of got their own way of doing things, and maybe Pulte's got this method of quality control and somebody else has this method of quality control, and it's always hard to capture that in like standardized courses. I mean, some of the things you can capture just fine in standardized courses, but then
Right.
sometimes the company wants to say, yeah, that's all great, but this is the way we want you to do it here on our projects. And so that ability then, so you've got preloaded modules, but then you've also got the ability for the company to create their own modules. Is
That's
that how
right.
I'm understanding that?
That is correct. And they can customize even the ones that we have in our library by appending to them, or in
Okay.
some cases, requesting edits and changes, on which we will do.
Well, we've got a few more things. What do you want to look at, Paul? Do you want to pull Clay up here and look at On3 Create, or
Yeah,
we've
let's
got
do
an
that. Yeah,
example of. All right, let's.
show that. That is really important, and we have a new version of that coming out. We're targeting the International Builder Show for our latest version of On3 Create. But yeah, this is it here.
On3 Create is all about keeping things simple. So you're ready to create your own learning content? Open On3 Create. Tap New. It starts with the basics. Says so right there. Give your learning module a name. Okay, how to use On3 Create. Add a description. In this case, it's self-explanatory, so no need. So move on. Add tags so it's easy for anyone to find. So create, DIY, tutorial, good. Next, you can add learning objectives to help your team understand what they'll get from this. Or you can skip this step and go straight to adding media. Tap here, hit the plus sign, and you'll have the choice of recording a video. Hey, it's always best to use your phone like this, horizontal, looks better. You can take pictures. Select a video or picture you've already saved in your phone. Create a text slide, or any combination of those options. Once you've added your media, you can move them around, look like this, in any order you like. You can even add test questions. We call it a knowledge check. Or keep it super simple and just hit submit. And boom, your creation is off to the On3 Learning team to do the rest. Before you know it, it's added to your library in the On3 Learn app for you to share with your team. Learning doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be boring. It's quick, it's easy, and yes, it is in your hands. On3 Create.
Yeah, that's great. They did a really nice job of that. And the one thing that we didn't convey in that video is that once it's on our side, we build out the learning, we build out the test questions, we build out the translations. All of that is done automatically for the client. So what they get back is everything they need to move forward, and it's all enabled in the app. So there's no files, there's no editing, there's no additional work that needs to be done. You just record and upload, and AI takes over and builds it all out for us. And the last piece we've added lately, which has really been fun, is we've now created an AI bot that now interviews your employees. So they have to spend 5 minutes with our AI bot, and it can score them and determine whether they have the competency in that particular area. And this
Nice.
has been really key because you say you're getting a report that says, "Hey, we're having problems with flooring," or our cabinets are not going in properly, or whatever. You can now issue check-ins with our system where they have a 5-minute conversation on a Monday morning. Their phone lights up, have a little conversation with the bot, and we can quickly determine, yeah, this person's very competent, no problem here. Let's move on. Or maybe we identify several individuals that are lacking in some area, and we'll drive them immediately into retraining right on their mobile device.
Nice. Okay, so that's where the AI in on3.ai comes in, right?
Indeed, it does. Indeed, it
Yeah.
does. And we're using all the tools in our arsenal here to really tighten up the whole construction process.
Paul, thanks for joining me, and it'll be interesting to watch this continue to develop. I think it's exciting.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the opportunity.